Final turn at Schoengrabern, 9 p.m. More likely final half turn, because the Russians have already satisfied their victory conditions. The question is, can the French get anything? I'll just move right into the French movement phase here. The only real possibility is for the much maligned Legrand's division to make some sort of mad dash. But truly, there's no way to get there. So we're going to try a crazy gambit. We're going to, put it back into view here. We have these French hussars. We have the skirmishers here. We're going to charge those hussars around here and try to hit those skirmishers and clear a hole so we can try to get some infantry down. Now, the Russian dragoon skirmishers, if they're charged, they can try to basically retreat and reform, or they can rout and get out of the way. But in neither case can they fight. So we're going to make a run at them. We're going to get caught in that skirmisher. I don't believe I have to stop right there. I don't think I do. I think I just have to take opportunity fire. If I played it wrong, oh well. The opportunity fire is a miss. So now the Russians can only try to retreat or rout. So they are able to pass their morale check, which means he can retreat and then reform in column. Now the strange thing is, what happens to the charging cavalry? Do they get to drive home? They don't want to. I think I'm going to force them to roll a recall. Which they succeed. And maybe we'll run them rapid here. What can we do? Maybe we can try to hit those skirmishers. So it's kind of crazy. I don't think there's anything in the rules that prevents me from doing that little crazy charge I just made. So they're going to end up right here, basically going after those hussars in skirmish order. So we got a charge out of this game. Let's just move on to some movement. So with the light cavalry against those skirmishers, their effect on movement is negated. Not going to matter any, but now really the intent of this dragoon skirmisher rule is to allow the dragoons to avoid a cavalry charge and escape to safety. At this point in the game, they don't really want to escape. So here they are. Here's a French battalion. Are they allowed to opportunity charge? I'm going to say no. They had their movement for this turn. Now they still have their zone of influence, so the French can't move through them. But they can't get any extra movement there. So I can already tell there's no way for the French to get close to Guntersdorf and occupy anything. The best chance we have is here. If we occupy those Cossacks, we might be able to move. Let's see, so that's to this is a lame way to try and get some kind of victory. We can also move out of that zone of control, take the opportunity fire attack, nice and low, so no effect. I guess if nothing else, this will also get us to the Russian half of the turn and play it out. And while there's really no point in moving any more of the French infantry, we may as well just proceed to the fire combat phases. So we have a couple of attacks we can make right here. The skirmishers. Well, they got a nice big number. So they did inflict a casualty on the French cavalry, but the cavalry has decent morale, and they were able to maintain their impetus. We can fire, I guess technically we can fire that infantry at that cavalry there. And then we can fire that infantry here. And I don't believe that's a casualty. No. So, we can fire the French as long as we're here. The infantry right here, we can fire those two infantry at those dragoons. And we're going to get a casualty on them. There's really no harm. The morale check they pass. So we're going to call the end of the fire phases and move right into the melee phases. We really don't have too much going on. We're going to try to melee these dragoons just to force them to retreat. Doesn't help us any, but we have the charging cavalry against the giant hussars there. So they're a 58 melee divided by 4, I think is what they will be. Why divided by 4? Well, they're in 2 hexes, so that's half, and then they're in skirmish mode, so another half. And that will be more than enough to hold off the French, I think. That'll be a 1-to-2 attack. Yikes, and the French roll a snake eyes. That's as bad as it gets, so they're going to rout. Which at this point in the game doesn't matter, but hey, they're still fighting tomorrow, aren't they? And the last melee we're going to attempt is the French infantry against the prince himself, I'm pretty sure, and those remaining Jaegers. So it's a half-strength battalion. They need to make a pre-melee morale check. Don't think they're going to pass. They are a 22. No, they just barely pass. So that worked out. And we will have 1/3 of 5 against half of 15, so 7.5. So that is 4-to-1. Bagration has a 5 modifier. So, This ends up being a 53, which is a disorder, which is goodbye to the Jaegers. So the French and a last-ditch effort are going to capture a bit of the town. They may not be able to hold it one more turn, or one more half turn. Or the Prince can fly to somebody within range. We're going to have him run over to the Dragoons here. So that will be it for the French half of the turn. And we'll turn it around here and just try to finish off the Russian phase. There's kind of an important question here. What about these Dragoons? They were in skirmish order, they retreated, reformed, they were retreated again. All of that, that still didn't amount to half of their movement allowance. Should they be allowed to move this turn? Oh, I forgot to advance those infantry. So I think I'm going to deny them that right. And I'm going to let the Russians move here. Going to start by trying to decide how best to get at this here. We have the large Hussar regiment, which would be nice if we could dislodge both these guys, but I don't think we can. We might be able to dislodge him. It doesn't look like we can get... Well, I think the best approach is going to be to reform him here and move him down here and take the fire from those skirmisher battalions there. There's 3, and he's got 15, he'll get there. So we'll get 1 opportunity fire. It's a very low number, so he's unscathed. We then have remnants of a grenadier battalion in the town, and these are this battalion here. Pivot him around, move him in line. So this is our best shot as a Russians to try to eject the French and win a victory such as it is. So now we have 2 French fires we can undertake. These light troops can fire on that Hussar, or they can fire here. But we have these 2 to fire there. So we're going to fire here and here against that Hussar regiment. 14. So even with the huge... Yeah, even with the huge modifier for that large target, we're not going to get anywhere. Now we can fire once more at those chasseurs. A big number, a 66. So that is an excellent roll. We can inflict a casualty. We have a morale check, because it's cavalry and they don't like getting shot at by infantry. But they just barely pass. They have a morale of 25, we rolled a 26, so they will stand. So we'll just move finally into the melee phase and see if the Russians can kick out these guys. So we're going to have this... Oh, I forgot. These guys are actually tired since they meleeed in the last turn, or last half turn rather, and so they're going to have a slightly diminished capacity, just like me. So they'll be able to muster 29, half of their strength, against 7.5. No modifiers, so we'll just throw the dice, roll a 42, we get a defender disorder, which is exactly what we wanted. So whatever the heck happens, they have to leave that hex. So yeah, they're going to lose some increments. I don't really care at this stage. retreat, but the hussars will occupy that hex. So 1 down, 1 to go. That leaves us here with this infantry against that cavalry. Usually cavalry runs away, but they're going to stand their ground and see if they can hold out. Now it's 4/5 of 14, but sadly they're in the town, so it's going to be even worse. So they're essentially 1/3. Is it 1/3 or 1/2? But they're diminished. And we have 11 on those grenadiers. A lot of generals leading this little attack. And 2/3 of 8. So we'll say that's about a 4-to-1 attack. We roll a big number, which will cause them to rout and vacate the hex, and the Russians win. So I didn't think the French would even get to the town, so I guess they did all right getting there. The Russians definitely took a beating. They only have 2 infantry battalions left, but their cavalry is in really good shape. The French never did get a chance to do any real damage to the cavalry. So that's the end of Schoengrabern. It is, by rule, a decisive Russian victory, since they hold all hexes of Guntersdorf. So they win the battle, it gives them false confidence, and they decide to take on the French a couple weeks later at Austerlitz. I don't know, that doesn't seem like a bargain to me. But good game, fun game. Liked how it turned out. Made some colossal mistakes, yet it all sort of worked out in the end. Try it again sometime with the regulations or the 5th edition or whatever the other rule sets are called. See how that goes.